Yeah, yeah. Good morning, Greg J. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on Tuesday, start of a new week. How are you today? All is well? Yeah, things are good on our end, coming off some very busy times. Won't be before you very long on today. Just wanted to kind of shout out and contemplate some things that are happening around us. We're so happy we had a great time on this past Saturday in the beautiful city of Long Beach up there at the Expo Arts Center's Dream Creator Studio and Kalimba Song Coffee Company joined forces with the African American Cultural Center to present a forum, building global business exchange with the Honorable Her Excellency, Dr. Arikana Chihombori-Quao. It's a great time we had out there. Uh, Very profound. People are still buzzing about the conversation and the thought provoking um, treatise that Her Excellency presented before us. Let me bring Rhonda Love in here just kind of to talk about it before we get to some of these headlines and just kind of see. Let's see here. Good morning, Rhonda Love.
Good morning. How are you, Greg J?
Are you there? Can we hear you?
I'm here.
Uh, okay. Your mic is really low there. I don't know.
How about now?
Huh.
Good morning. Good morning. Good
Well,
morning.
anyway, we're doing okay. What was your thoughts on last Saturday's experience?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
What were
perfect.
your thoughts on last Saturday's experience?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show today. My thoughts of Saturday's experience was incredible and it was absolutely amazing. And um, it was at capacity, full house, literally standing room only. There were a couple of seats, but mostly, it's a packed house and standing room only. And the information was incredible. It was nice to just see the lights in people's eyes light up, as they were getting the brand new information. And the message from Dr. Arikana from her excellency was you could see that it was making Africa real in the consciousness of people, and it was just really great to see that.
Mhm. I really liked how she presented, the global perspective, just giving everybody a window to, her experiences as a diplomat and, opening our consciousness, as you say, to, a global view. She talked about a worldview and how nations of Africa fit into that, but then expertly boiled that all down to community level, our one-on-one experiences as brothers and sisters here in, on these here streets, as I like to say. It was pretty well done. You're able to boil down that global view all the way down to views right here in the streets. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
You
I
know,
thought
uh,
that was really.
Go ahead.
I just said I was just saying I thought it was really great.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Before we get into it, we're gonna play a couple minutes of her speech here, on today's broadcast. But before we get into it, we're just trying to kind of just chit chat you and I about the aspects of what's going on in our headlines. I want to start out with the environment, and the reason I say that, Rhonda, is because when I'm out there on my runs along the shoreline of Long Beach, California, I am always amazed at how many ships are sitting out there. I mean, it is a literal traffic jam. I saw a report the other day where there were over 90 ships sitting out there. It seems like there's more than that. I mean, it is a ginormous parking lot. And I know that people are seeing in the news how ports all over the United States are backed up just because of COVID has had its effect, labor shortages, all kinds of uh, variants have contributed to this backup, but it is visible when we're off the coast. When we go down to Long Beach and we look out there, we see all of those ships. And I'm just trying to say, you know what? The environment is being affected by these ships. It's like, yeah, we could talk about the backup and the labor shortages and all that, but I'm sure the environment is really, really being affected by these ships being, backlogged on our waters. Have you ever thought about how that might hurt us or affect us as a community?
Yeah, well, I think, that's always been a situation that, at least for the Port of Long Beach for sure, and I can, speak for that agency, having worked there with them before for many years. And I think the environmental impact has always been something that that port's been very mindful of and conscious of, which was the reason why that particular port set out to be the greenest port in the world on the planet, and they've done a really great job at doing it, that and achieving that. So those challenges I think have always been there. They've always been a mix of various different areas. It'd be great to be able to just kind of pinpoint one area. Not enough laborers there at the port, not enough trucks. Maybe a higher demand, and I think, but I think that when you really lay it all out on the table, it's a combination of multiple different areas, just little pockets in different areas where you'll see that contribute to what we see out there. I remember my time at the port as an administrator. I worked with the executive branch, the executive management, and the commissioners. And at the old headquarters for the Port of Long Beach, we would, be on the executive floor. We would look out the way the offices were set up. You could look out from the executive floor and just see all of the traffic, and just see what was happening at the port there from the executive offices there. And so, there were times where we would see, those pockets of traffic and congestion. And then the other thing too is just kind of depends on the time of the year as well. And we're moving into the holiday season. Lots of imports are coming in. So I think it's a combination of different things that are happening coupled with COVID and our current environment. But I do feel that they'll get a handle on it, and work it out. But it is going to be a process.
Yeah, I was talking to Stephen Neal, the president of the Harbor Commission there, and he was expressing that this is a situation that we will be seeing well into 2022 and perhaps even into 2023, just because of the effects of COVID, the effects of our international trade relations with China, certainly on this side, and over on the East Coast, the same, uh, the effects of COVID and how it has just wreaked havoc on systems. Because understand these ports are systems, and one action begets another. He also said that, which was interesting, that there's all kinds of new regulations coming out with the trucking industry, and so people are having to go and retool their trucks and all of that, and so therefore there's not enough truckers out there. And then the things that they are asking of the rail systems, because they're pulling all of those containers out of the port on rails. He was saying that the railroads is a constant battle with them, and they own the rails, so they can only suggest what they need from the rail system. And if the rail system decides they don't want it, therein lies kind of a stalemate and a blockage. But in the meantime, I'm just thinking, dang, with the smoke coming out of the smokestacks, with these ships have been traveling, tens of thousands of miles from wherever they come from, and I'm sure there's things like waste and exhaust and fuel and all kinds of things. We saw recently the ship's anchor, broke the oil pipe down underneath the water and caused an oil spill. I mean, there's just a lot of things happening, and it's just going to be an environmental mess, and probably will also continue as we go in. And I'm sure the ports are doing the best that they can right now, but it's a situation and circumstance right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
and they're
think
saying,
that's where President Commissioner Neal's comments speaks to those multiple pockets, that contribute to what we see.
mhm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, we're seeing as we come up into the holiday season, they're saying that these blockages are going to affect us at the stores because, supply and demand, the supply has been held up on these ships. You're going to find, things not in stock, they say, when we go for our Christmas shopping and our holiday shopping situations. And so it's a big, big deal here. So, Rhonda, they're saying they can't hear you. You need to turn up your microphone on your end,
Oh,
please.
wow. Okay. I don't know how to do that. Let's see. I have it up as high as it can go. Should I go out and come back in?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, y'all. Yeah, yeah. In the meantime, let's kind of switch reels over to the LA politics. We only observe the politics, but there's a lot of situations going down there. Our friend, the Honorable Mark Ridley Thomas, is going. Um, you can go. Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec, y'all. All right, hold on. All right, there you go. The Yeah, the Honorable Mark Ridley Thomas. There, he's under indictment for some stuff that I guess they're saying he funneled money through the nonprofit to help his son get classes or whatnot at that USC, University of Southern California. It's a big deal. He was indicted federally as well as another um, official at the university, and so we're waiting to see, we're not condemning or making opinions. We're just seeing. I actually respect Mark Ridley Thomas and would just like to wait and see. In the meantime, another guy that I respect came out with a statement, said that, hey, this is not new. There's a lot of corruption. One of the things that Chief Bernard Parks issued in his statement, and I'll put that in our chat a little later on in today. But in his statement, he was saying all right, that might be a little better there, Rhonda.
You think so?
Yes, I can hear you a lot better.
Yeah.
Let me turn my volume down. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about, Chief Parks made a statement with regarding the Mark Ridley Thomas indictment situation. And I've seen a few comments on social media, and I highly respect both men. And I'm going to say to you all that they are political rivals, and politics will be politics, right? But one of the things that he said was that according to statistics, that LA is like the second most corrupt city in the United States. And it has been for years. This is the history of our city, and I was chuckling about it. Well, it's serious business, right? But I was chuckling about it because remember the movie like LA Confidential, and there's a few others that go back to the 20s, 30s, and 40s that show that, right? It's like, okay, we kind of like Chicago and New York. Those bastions of power can be a little dirty there. What do you think about that, Rhonda Love? You think LA City is corrupt, or what's your assessment of it?
I think every city has its challenges, and it's all based on the population that's there and the opportunities that are there, the economic opportunities that are happening, the infrastructure, access to, means, people are trying to survive. I think it's just a combination of a lot of different things. And so every city, jurisdiction, of course, has its challenges.
Yeah, so we'll keep our close eye on that, and let the courts work it all out. One thing we should all be really, really paying attention to is this redistricting. Okay, you remember, right at COVID, we were involved in the census, and I don't know if you heard the messaging while other than fill out the forms, fill out the forms, fill out the forms. They were also telling us that this will affect redistricting. And this is, in cities all across the United States, redistricting is it's a situation, it's a circumstance that we should all be paying attention to. Some of your favorite districts are going to change. Maybe wherever you live is going to change. Your council person is going to change. There's a lot to it. I remember a few years back watching LA be redistricted, and I just saw how communities, council districts that served us in the Los Angeles area were vastly changed just by a few feet. It was just really, really something. And we heard a conversation not too long ago about, from our council member friends who were, saying, hey, you know what, this redistricting thing is serious. There's even a conference call that I was on one of the boards that I serve, where we examined the maps in Long Beach, and we're talking about, okay, this how they propose to rearrange the council districts in the city. I know that our good friend Dr. Anthony Samad is convening a town hall meeting on redistricting with a number of high-placed officials in the county and indeed the state, to talk about these aspects. A lot of community activists are beginning to pay attention to this. So I would encourage the village to pay attention to this process, right? And for me, I think it's interesting because I just don't feel like we finished the census, because right smack dab in the middle of it, we were hit with COVID. Right? So how do we get an accurate redistricting assessment? But hey, they're moving forward. The systems are moving forward, and there it is. Redistricting, y'all. So pay attention to that. You know what, Rhonda, I'm just going to queue up our fantastic event with Dr. Arikana Chihombori-Quao. Hold on a minute. Let me see. And, while I'm doing that, I'm going to take myself off screen while I get that in order here. And I just share with the people what your feelings were and what were some of the highlights of Saturday's fantastic event with Her Excellency.
Thank you so much, Greg J. I think some of the highlights for me were seeing all the people that are coming in wanted to hear about building a global business community, which is so important. As I walked around and just kind of did the hosting and helped to support and make sure everyone was having a great experience, it was just really nice to hear people getting new information. It was nice to hear, which is great energy, great vibration and sharing. And then the African American Cultural Center is housed there at the Expo Center temporarily, as I understand. So it was nice to see people kind of go through and look at the exhibit and share and learn different things. We definitely want to thank Councilman Al Alston, the staff there at the Expo Center, the African American Culture Center for their support, and then just all of the dignitaries and public servants that contributed to recognizing Her Excellency while she was in Long Beach for what I understand was her first visit. So it was just really great. So special thanks or shout out to Mayor Robert Garcia for recognizing her while she was here. Assemblyman Mike Gibson recognizing her for being here while she was here. And then Senator Lena Gonzalez as well, her office. Special thanks to, and I think we're queued up now. But it was just really nice to see everyone come out and enjoy it. And really, the essence was just to learn about how to be a part of a global community, and to mostly what I really loved was seeing people increase their social capital. That's really important today. There was a time where we could kind of maybe sit and not be engaged, but we're living in a time where just a heightened sense of everything is happening all around us. And so increasing your social capital, not just where you live, not just in the country that you live, but globally, is so important. So it was just nice to see people come out and make huge investments into increasing their social capital.
Yeah, it was really, really great. And, opening the consciousness too of people. Some people I think may have had one level of consciousness, but then hearing Her Excellency and just being in that environment that was created, it was all things Africa. I mean, if you looked at from the art that we had there, the one brother was displaying his agricultural projects. You had people from the diplomatic corps of certain nations of the continent of Africa. You had educators. You had, Brother Femi, Baba Femi Vilts from the Africa Study Group was there, and really was able to offer libations to the ancestors and all of that. But just to see, folks there that are just have this global perspective was really, really a great energy to be a part of.
Yeah, Greg, I wanted to share this too. You and I were talking about it just afterwards in our recap, and we're talking about just all the information that Her Excellency shared with us on the event. And one thing in particular that stuck out for me that she shared was how China was exporting their prison population to the continent of Africa as laborers to build there on the continent. And I've since Googled it, to kind of see, just what was being said about that. And so that is a thing, and it is really, really happening. And I thought about the question that you had asked this weekend, and afterwards on Sunday, and you said it really must be something for her to have and know all of this information and trying to share it, with the world and with African Americans in particular, about the need for really helping Africa in terms of building the economic infrastructure because of things like that are going on. And as I Googled and I really learned more about how China is sending their prison population there, much like Europe, the European countries did here in America, which was to send their prison populations here. It's happening there in China. And so it would be really awesome to see African Americans really just kind of dive into what's happening there on the continent and see how we can be a part of building a very strong bridge of economics through music, arts, culture, and all of the other entities, STEM and all of that, because it is very much so happening. And I can only imagine, like you said, how it may feel for her to see all of this happening and to address it and get that information on that level. And she's sounding the horn, if she will, or the call, and probably some of the frustrations of not hearing the response that she'd like to hear at this particular time. But what's happening with regards to China doing a lot to Africa, what the European countries did to America, it really is happening. And I hope that we are contributing in some type of way to wake up some folks here in America, to maybe see Africa as real. Africa is real. There's opportunities there are real, and see what can be done to help this continent as people like Her Excellency make this call and make this cry.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I mean, we really have to, and I think we're doing our part, to build these bridges. It's important, and a lot of us are stuck on, well, you know what, I'm not African, they say, but yet you are, and this is your country. I mean, if you look at other cultures, they can link back to their country, nation of origin, right? And while we may not be able to always do that, I guess you can in a way once you get your DNA, but the way that we got into these Americas has erased our direct connection. However, we are still African, and I think that it is important when she says Africa is calling her children home. That is a very profound and real statement. We live in a time of globality. I don't know if that's a word, but that's a word that I use all the time. But through the internet, you can talk to the brothers and sisters in Africa through the internet. We are closer. There might be 10,000 miles away, but they're actually right here. Or they pull them on this line right here. We've had so many people come sharing information directly from the continent. And those are the types of bridges, the fabric that we're weaving right now to build consciousness. It's more than just an emotional connection. There's that, because when you go, if you ever visit there, you're going to have that emotional thing. But as a nation, as a people, now more than ever, we have to build our place at the global table through our relationships with Africa. And that's what our good sister, Her Excellency, Dr. Arikana, is promoting and letting us know.
Yeah, Greg, and I want to say this really quick too. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing, and that is, I know it's you're operating in the space of building bridges through music, arts, and culture, and events like what we just had. Thank you for bringing her to Long Beach, and just thank you for making Africa real. For a lot of us, I know that you definitely did that for me, and my trip there was the best. My first trip there was the best trip I've ever had in my entire life, and so thank you for your commitment to the advocacy of making Africa real to so many of us. It's so needed, and we hope to continue to do more of that work. And I want to take this time to share a project that I'm really excited about, and be more to come. And that is, I mentor since my trip, and really seeing the tangibleness of the continent. I've been mentoring, for about 10 years. I've mentored, some young people there, primarily in Monrovia, Liberia. Moses Sully is one of the young people that I've mentored there for at least 10 years now. He's just followed me on social media and Facebook. And so we're working on a huge project there to create some jobs there for them, and some jobs here in the country as well. So with that, I just want to say, um, my thank you so much for making Africa real to me, for creating opportunity for me to put my feet on the soil there, and to come back and begin to build those bridges of music, arts, culture, education, and economics. So appreciate your work and continue to keep it up.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to make it all happen. I got a question for you. What's your favorite food over there?
Oh, my favorite
What
food
did
over there
what?
is
Yes.
it was the fish. The fish. Oh my God, that was the freshest fish I've ever had in my life. What was it? The fish we got out of the Victoria Falls Lake. It was from
Oh,
the
was
was it Bream?
Bream, Bream,
Bream.
Bream,
Yes.
B
Oh my
R
God.
E E M.
Yes,
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 yeah.
yes. Bream and chips, which
Fish
is
and
French
chips.
fries, fish and chips.
Yes, yeah. I was about
the Yeah, the bream
chips.
fish out of Victoria Falls was absolutely amazing. I mean, the hotel that we were at, the what is the Buckabon, or what were we at? We were at the
That one was that was the Avani, right
Ivani.
next door to the Victoria Falls.
Yes,
Yes,
and so
yes, yeah,
every
yeah,
morning it was nice to hear the restaurant there at the hotel say every morning, early morning, they go there, and it was a fish, the catch of the day. They caught the fish fresh that morning. So, by the time you get there and you have lunch, I mean, they're literally just getting back with fresh, amazing fish. So the bream fish that they
yeah.
that they fish and gather every morning out of the Victorias was incredible.
Mhm, mhm,
That was
mhm.
my favorite.
Folks, you can visit Africa with Dr. Arikana. She's got a little trip coming up in December. I'll think I'll post that in the chat in a minute while you all are watching. What this presentation from her, but they're taking a trade expo over to Cape Coast, Ghana. That's West Africa. I heard from a good friend, Meredith Beale, who's been on coffee conversations with Greg J a few times live from Nairobi, and he's there now, and he's working on some things in Botswana that he's been sharing with me. And maybe Lord willing, we'll go to Botswana. Who knows? It's just a lot of things happening over there as we build these bridges of music, arts, culture, and business
Yes.
with the continent. And yeah, there it is. The COVID restrictions got travel kind of hemmed up, but it looks like things are trying to open up a little bit. And wear your mask, y'all. Wear your mask. Get your vaccination, I suppose. And let's open up these travel airways so we can get back out there. Got a passport? Get it. So that's it.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
between
listen.
Greg
Let's
J's
check.
platforms and Dream Creator, you can get all of this information constantly. We'd love to be a part of keeping you informed. And for Dream Creator, you can go to our Facebook page, Dream Creator, on Facebook, or dreamcreator.org, as well as Coffee Conversations with Greg J, Hannibal Media Group, and Greg and myself, our personal pages as well. So lots of we're trying to connect and communicate on all platforms and all outlets to make sure that you get the information.
Yes, that is correcto, correcto. All right, y'all, check this out. This is Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chihomboro-Quao.
address the community in London and share with them the journey that we're getting ready to partake, the journey of going back home. As all of you know, I'm the former African Union ambassador to the United States. And since leaving office, I started an organization that is to continue the work that I knew. If I did not continue the work I started at the mission, nothing was going to be continued. As the ambassador to the African Union, I took that position very reluctantly, as I did not know what it is I was going to do. I'll be very honest with you, the ambassadors that I knew, I just didn't get a feel of what was really being accomplished. And I did not want to just waste my time, go to Washington and drink tea and coffee. I'm a medical doctor. I save lives. I spend the whole day solving other people's problems. And I needed to continue that instead of going to Washington and drink tea and coffee. But they insisted that I should take a position. The then chairman of the African Union at that time, Madam Zuma, she wanted someone who understood the diaspora, somebody who understood the Americans, because she knew very clearly, she herself being a diaspora, that the future of Africa lay in the hands of the African diaspora. That without the repatriation of the African diaspora, the building of the Africa we want will always be but a dream. So for that, she insisted that I should take that position. I left for Washington convinced that the most I was going to stay there was 6 months. But I honestly did not think I was going to make a difference. I'm the last person, if the truth be told, that should have been in the past. I came from Africa, born in a small village called Chivo, and came here to go to college, first degree, master's, medical school, residency, private practice. Nothing remotely close to diplomacy or politics in any way, shape, or form. So why they chose me that night, that phone call that came to PM asking me to become an ambassador, I still quite don't understand what was going through the mind of Madam Zuma, chairman of the African Union at that time. So out of respect for her, I said, okay, I'm going to go for a few months so I can look at her and say, Madam Zuma, I tried. I just couldn't do it. So I stayed in a hotel for 5 months, quite convinced that I was going to be going back to Tennessee. Even my husband and children, I said, nobody's coming to Washington. You all are staying here because nothing is going to change. I'm coming back. But something happened around 5th month that got me to stop and start thinking, maybe I need to stay just a little bit longer. What really bothered me the most was the blatant disrespect for the Africans. The dismissiveness in meetings, and on a couple of occasions, outright screaming and yelling at them. And I'm thinking, these ministers using taxpayer dollars are coming here for meetings. They're not coming here to be yelled at and treated like children. And so it is. And I also attended events in Africa. The same was happening. It was so blatantly wrong. We would be supposedly planning sessions for peace and security in Africa, issues to do with Africa. And half the room is them. And we're supposed to be discussing, yes, we're the ones talking. But my question was, where are those people there? Do they invite us to their meetings in Europe? And why is it every meeting that we attend there? And so it is, I felt there was a need for a voice. I decided to start speaking up. And I started asking them direct questions and calling them out where I needed to call them out. So I made that phone call one night from my hotel room. I told my husband that I was going to stay around just a little bit longer. been unable to undo and stop the blatant abuse that is being meted to us. Even at the highest level, even when it is as blatant can be, we have taken it. If I were to give you some of the examples, just to really give you an example of why it was such a painful thing to watch. As we speak today, there are thousands of remains of our ancestors sitting in jars in basements throughout Europe. These were ancestors who were beheaded simply because they resisted occupation. Every country that was formerly colonized have remains of our ancestors that have been sitting in jars for centuries. And when the countries are trying to request return of those body parts for proper burial, we have to go to court. Murders were committed. How long do you think a finger of a British soldier would last in Kenya? How long would a toe of a German soldier last in Namibia? But even in an hour, they will storm into those countries. They will kill hundreds of people just to recover that tiny little body parts. So the question I have to foreign ministers of culture throughout Africa, why have you not come together and demanded that this wrong be righted? Why have you not come together and demanded that the thousands and thousands of priceless artifacts that were stolen from Africa, that we pay when we go to Europe to see in their museums, clearly labeled the country where the artifact was stolen from? Why have we not been able to come together to stand up and say, give up, these are stolen goods? It's very easy. We simply say we're not going to engage in Europe until we fix these wrongs. But we've failed. So as I was thinking and trying to understand why is it that we have not been able to challenge the obvious, blatant, naked truth, I couldn't help but go back to the mind that when the missionaries were sent to Africa, they were sent with specific instructions. This was long before the children of Africa were brought abroad as slaves. They were instructed to teach the Africans how to read but not to receive. They were instructed to destroy our ways of life, our culture, our beliefs, and that we should consider everything to do with Africa inferior and undesirable, and that we should adopt their ways. So it is systematically they began to destroy the African mind. They began to make us believe we are inferior and that we should be afraid of ourselves. They used religion, and I call it lie number 1 in the 7 lies I'm going to talk to you about. The 7 pillars, root causes of why we are where we are today. Issue number 1, the mind. I often ask people to answer to yourself, what color are the angels? They told you white. And what color is the devil? They told us black. But remember, we had gone to school, and in school they said, oh, this is how the black color looks like, white, orange, green, yellow. But when it came to humanity, never mind how I look, I am white like the angel. Never mind how you look, you're black like the devil. And we say, okay, never question it. So the criminalization of blackness, that seed was sown then, to this day, continue to nurture that seed. Our children are born into a world where none of you have ever sat down with children and said you're black and you're ugly. And yet, if I may remind all of you of that experiment of little girls with dolls. Little girls under 5 years, they knew the black doll was ugly. And they chose the white dolls. How many centuries later, since they saw that sin, using religion, taking the good book and misrepresenting it. Jesus Christ, who we know was a black man, they changed him and turned him into white. We know that to be true because even the Bible says so. Hair like wool, crimson skin. When Mary and Joseph were running away from King Herod, they were told to go to Africa, Egypt. Why Egypt? Because in Egypt, Jesus Christ would blend with others that looked like him. If he was a white man, they would have told him to go to Europe. So the evidence is all there. And they just blatantly lie to us. And we don't challenge it. We just agree with them for centuries. And yet that simple lie, number one, is so detrimental to everything that we do. Because remember, that little girl who chose a white doll, she's going to grow up to be the next leader, the next minister, the next president, we hope. And if that mind is still that mind, nothing is going to change. And that is why people in positions who otherwise should speak up. You put a black man in front of a white man, their knees buckling and they can't talk. They get scared. So rather than look at the white man in the face and say, dude, what you're doing is wrong, you wouldn't want it done unto you, don't do it to me. We run away. Because the white man has spoken. Where do we go with the mind? How do we begin to undo the damage that has been done to the mind of the black man and the black woman? Because until we heal the mind, nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to change. And that's why I embarked on a journey to speak the truth. Because I realized during my tenure that we were misguided in our understanding of what was really going on in Africa. My mandate included engaging the US government. The one that was more important to me was engaging the African diaspora. And as I spoke and engaged the African diaspora, it didn't matter what subject matter I spoke about. The first question invariably would always be, but Ambassador, the African leaders are corrupt. As if that was the beginning, the middle, and the end of Africa's problem. And so when I realized that this was the prevailing sentiment in anything that I do and that nobody would hear anything else because they thought that was the issue, I would challenge the diaspora and say, well, let's get all of you to go and become president of African leaders. Let's get rid of all the leaders and put you there. What difference are you going to make? Because some fundamentals that need to be changed are not even being talked about. I said the watchdog for corruption say $50 billion gets out of Africa every year from corruption. That's a lot of money. We must go after it. But what I wanted to see also is 10 times the outrage over France, who at the same time, over $500 billion is being taken out of 14 African countries every year. And that was being done, for those of you who have not seen some of my news, the pact that they forced the African governments to sign as they were getting their independence. So on this side of the document, you are signing to get your independence, but flip over. Now on this side, you must sign this document, which they try continue to be colonized. And what were those things you're signing for? You give up your financial resources. 85% of your bank reserves, you deposit them with the Central Bank of France. Your military must be trained by France. All your military equipment you must buy from France. Your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered, French companies have the first right of refusal. First, all the contracts, large or small, French companies have the first right of refusal. Military, France will have its military presence in your country. They can invade you at any time without notice. Come on, guys. What country are you living? What freedom do you have? You've given up control of your finances, of your military, of your natural resources. Speak to me. What is the president doing? Even at the presidential palace, there's a French desk. Every ministry, there's a French desk to make sure that the French agenda comes first. So my question was to the diaspora as I travel around the country. On one hand, you get a thief with a briefcase with 50 million. On the other hand, there's another thief with a briefcase with 500 billion. And you're being told to put all your energies and go after the thief with 50 million and be completely ignorant about the thief with 500 billion. It became apparent to me that there was a need for education. And I understood and truly believed that as African diaspora, and by African diaspora I'm referring to all people of African descent living outside Africa, we were in the wrong lane. And that we needed to leave that wrong lane that was furthering other people's agendas, but that we needed to embark on our own lane that was furthering our agendas towards the direction of our desired destination. And the only way to do that is through knowledge. Simple, truthful knowledge. That's why I started speaking. The day that I did the first video, because I concluded the biggest risk to peace and security and progress in Africa today is France. Many leaders who tried to speak to the issues and the horrific crimes being committed by France, they were killed. So it is out of the 65 coups that occurred in Africa prior to the most recent ones, 26 of them, out of the 26 countries, 16 were French-speaking countries. And all of them led by the French legionnaires. Facts well known. So it is the leaders get scared now. Because if you try to speak out, you find your head on the chopping block. So it became taboo. You can't talk about France. You can't talk about what the colonizers were doing because they'll just create conflict in your country. But I had to make a decision. My mandate, I was representing over 200 million people in the Americas and 1.37 billion on the continent. If I became a mute and decided to be quiet and not speak to the issues, that is how many billions of people would have no voice. So I called my husband the night before. I said, I'm getting ready to do something that may get me in trouble, but it is a trouble that I'm ready to receive. And so it is, I did the first video. And I spoke about a boxing game. When you take the country of Eswatini with 1.5 million people, and when they come to the world stage, Eswatini is expected to trade fairly with China. Congo Brazzaville, with their 4 million people, is expected to behave as equal partners with the United States. You see, you don't take a wannabe boxer and put them in the same boxing ring as the heavyweight. I gave an example of my poor husband and Mike Tyson. The unfairness of it all, the way it was orchestrated, the way we have never questioned it, and just took it like it is. How does Togo negotiate with the United States? How does Togo negotiate with China and expect to win? Africans are defeated before the game even begins. We can change leaders like we change dresses. Nothing is going to change until fundamentals have been addressed. What is fundamental? Root cause number 2.
Well, that's something right there. The ambassador, Dr. Arikana Chihombori-Quao. Well, Rhonda Love, we'll pause it right there, and maybe I'll show the rest of it a little later. You all can come back to our platform to see the entire address of Dr. Arikana Chihombori-Quao as she delivered it at the Expo Arts Center in Long Beach, California. Your thoughts, Rhonda Love, before we get out of here?
It was just incredible. It's even nice to hear the information. Again, it was so much information. I think you probably have to. I'm glad we recorded it and stored it to memory, but it's so much information. I think you probably have to listen to it a couple of times to really absorb just all the intricate details of what she shared. But it was just really deep, current, relevant information.
Yeah. Global perspectives. From our, like we say, culturally relevant topics, and this is how I think we need to begin to, exist in the world. I think we want to keep up with our local news. We want to keep up with our national news, but I think also, we need to be global. And not just from a European standpoint, involve, your African countries, what's going on the continent, and look at it for yourself, people. I just really think that a lot of times we get a very jaded perspective of what Mother Africa is all about. We see the children who are ill. We see the famine. We see the drought. We even hear so much about corruption and all of this here, but corruption is everywhere, even right here at home is what I see, but, certainly there are also beautiful cities. There are also progressive people. There's a success all over the continent. It's a continent, not a country, y'all. And I think that Dr. Arikana is a strong voice for building these bridges for us here in America and our brothers and sisters on the continent. Any last words before we go, Rhonda Love?
No, I think this has really been a great experience. And just to echo what you said, it's just good to have a global consciousness. For me, I'm looking at everything. I mean, I look at what's happening, of course, on the continent. I look at what's happening over with China and the moves that they're making there. Some of our current biggest trends that are on the way to this country. Are happening in big ways there in China in terms of economics and technology and all of that and stuff. And so it's just good to just, I'm really big on the word social capital right now, because that changes a whole lot. A lot of times social capital is key, even when when you don't have monies or funds to build economic infrastructure. Oftentimes your social capital is where it starts, and if you build it correctly and just build it, resourcefully, you could really do a lot of great things to impact your own lives and others. And so I just think having social capital everywhere, and of course Africa, but just kind of everywhere. Look and see what Norway's doing, what's happening in Australia, what's happening globally, and increasing that social capital and tapping in.
Yeah, having a global perspective is very, very important. Being well-rounded as we move about, especially in these days and time. There's no excuse, really. You got the whole, got the internet. You can find out everything and, what's happening all over the globe. But it's important. People are making moves out there. There's opportunities, But I also think that as we sit at the global table, to trade, to communicate, to express with one another. We just need to have that perspective so that we can have a strong and clear voice at that global table. All right, y'all. You can check us out on all of our platforms there. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. That's what's up. You can get them at Hannibal Media Group. There's so many different things, places you can check it out, and be a part of our experience. Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. We'll repurpose the audio and put that out as a podcast. We're going to put Dr. Arikana's entire speech together on podcast also. So wherever you want to get that, iHeart, Apple, Stitcher, that's where it is. All right, y'all. Love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.
Bye.